welcome again to Learning Music with Pat. The last couple of times I've been showing you various instruments and suggesting that you buy a recorder if you want to learn and follow along with me. So today what I thought I would do is to go over some of these instruments and talk to you about what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. So should you decide to buy one, you know what would be a good one for you to use. All of them are good in the sense that you can learn various musical skills on them, but some of them have weak points and some of them have strong points. And I thought it would be good to go over these with you. Also, it'll add to your knowledge about the instruments themselves. I want to start off by showing you 3 or 4 recorders that I have that I didn't talk about last time. This recorder is a Renaissance recorder. It was built to be like the recorders that were used in the Renaissance period of time, which is before the modern times. It sounds really good and it acts just like any other regular recorder. I will demonstrate for you. Very nice tone on it. This particular recorder, is made with Israeli wood. I believe it's cedar. It has a softer tone. Wooden recorders actually play in a softer way than what the plastics do, but let me demonstrate this. Also a very nice tone with Israeli wood. Now this one here is a little different. Somebody picked it up for me. It was at a flea market or something. And they asked me, do you want me to pick up this recorder for you? And I said, sure, go ahead and I'll reimburse you. And they did. So I got it home and I started playing with it and I had some problems with it. It was not consistent in the way that it played. And then I looked at it and I said, what could be wrong with this instrument? It's a wooden instrument. They usually have a wonderful tone. And I discovered that the top part of this instrument went to one instrument and the bottom half went to another instrument. They both halves came from Germany, but somebody took the top half of a recorder and the bottom half of another recorder and put them together. And if you look at it, the woods don't match. I have always kept it because it's a fascinating thing. I can talk about it and I can use it, even in sermons I can use it in terms of how God puts us together when we're broken. It does play, but I can't use it for solo work because it's not consistent. You'll never find another one like this. Okay, so let's look at the instruments that you probably would not want to use if you want to take lessons. I'm talking now about the flutophones, which are used a lot in schools. They have a nice tone. The flutophones come with white with red trim or black with white trim. They have a pretty good tone, and I have done solos on them, and I'll demonstrate this once again. The other one, of course, sounds exactly like it. Then you have the song flute. The song flute has also a very nice tone. A little different, but not bad. But then you get the tonette. By the way, anytime you have a flaring at the bottom of an instrument like this, most of the woodwinds have that. The song flute does not, but the recorders do and a lot of other instruments do. That's known as the bell of the instrument. This has a very weak tone. That doesn't make it a bad instrument. There may be some solos that you do or some songs that you do when you want to have a softer tone. So why wouldn't you want to take lessons on these instruments? The problem is they only play about 10 notes. So you don't have much of a range to work with. You can, however, learn a lot of musical skills on them, a lot of timing techniques. There's a lot you can learn on them, but you're very limited in your range. And that's why I don't personally recommend them. Another instrument that I don't recommend would be the ocarinas. Now I had this ocarina, in fact I had both these ocarinas in last time. These ocarinas come in a variety of colors and shapes and patterns. This was made in Peru, this was made in the United States, and they're easy to blow into, but they have a complicated fingering pattern which will make it a little bit difficult for you to learn to play. I can blow into this, but you see there are 2 thumb holes in the back. The recorders only have 1. And then you have all your holes on the side. And it's hard to play it. You can get a tone, and it's not hard in terms of getting air into it, but it's complicated to play. And I wouldn't recommend, if you're a beginning student, to use the ocarinas. The other instruments that you might not want to use would be the melodicas. Now I had a melodica here last week, and this time I brought another one. They all have a piano look to them. It's like blowing into a piano to make it play. This one does well. It's German. The problem is the only notes that you can play is what you see, so they're a little bit limited. You can get a little bit over an octave with them. The other problem is you're going to get tired out blowing into it because it takes a lot of air. Now I also have to say that some of my instruments are very old, so it may be that they're harder to play than the newer instruments. I'm getting older myself, so I don't have as much air as I used to have to play them. But the instruments are harder to get air into, and I think it would be recommended that you don't choose that as your first instrument. But it does play, the advantages, it does play chords. You can play harmonies. There's more than one note at a time, but you're going to wear yourself out blowing into it. Other instruments are the fifes. Now I didn't mention the fifes before, so I'm going to put this down so it'll give me a little more wiggle room here, and we'll pick up the fifes. Fifes are like regular instruments. They're like flutes. Instead of putting them in your mouth like you do a recorder, you have to blow across a tone hole. And some of them are very hard to blow into. And like the melodicas, it just takes a lot of air. This one was made out of water pipe. And a friend of mine did it for me. He said, Pat, I'm going to make you an instrument that you can take anywhere. You can take this to the beach. You can sit in the sand. You can get it loaded with sand. It's indestructible. All you have to do is rinse it off. And so, but it is a fife in the sense that you have to blow across a tone hole. Some of them are very, very hard to play. They're very hard to get air into them. I would not recommend them for lessons. Okay, this one here is just a plain steel pipe. Also, you blow across the tone hole. If you want to do that, you may as well get yourself a regular flute. Then you have instruments that come from other countries. This is a Peruvian flute. I love it. I've done solos on it. This is an Indian flute. Plays fairly well. This one comes from, I'm going to have to look at it, Morocco. Now, the problem with these is that they're very inconsistent. Some of them play well and some of them don't. And since they are made rather cheaply, it's very easy for the wood to split. So if you play them a lot, you'll find the wood cracking. Once the wood starts cracking, it's almost impossible to play them because they just don't produce the notes normally. So I would stay away from them except for novelty. As I said, all of them you can learn musical skills on, but some of them are better than others. And these are something, if you want to get them for a novelty and play songs on them, that's fine. But to use them for regular music instructions, I wouldn't. Now you have other flutes. And I'm going to bring these up. Maybe I should just bring one or two at a time. There are little flutes that look like recorders. They're supposed to play like recorders. They come in different colors. They're usually attractive. Some of them do well and some of them don't. This is supposed to be like a recorder. Let me see how it does. I usually try these instruments out before I get here. Sometimes I forget what they sound like. This is pretty good. Let's try this one. I sometimes buy them because I like the colors. Not too bad. Let's try this one. These are instruments that are straight down. They don't have a tone hole in the back, and they do play, sometimes pretty well. Not bad at all. The orange one I want to mention because this orange one here plays almost perfectly in the key of E flat. And if I'm playing songs and the E flat that I'm playing seems a little harsh or a little too loud, I can always switch to this and play in the key of E flat with a softer tone. And you know, I only paid $2 for it. Not bad for $2. I've even done solos on it. Okay, now this little guy is just the cheapest piece of plastic you could imagine, and then the mouthpiece doesn't even look like it's half there. But you would be surprised, it does play. Not very well, but it does play. No tone hole in the back. I can even squeeze it. You know, I can squeeze it flat. But I keep it because I can do demonstrations with it. It does have the traditional 6 holes, and all I have to do is work with it, and I can get some music out of it. These are the ones you probably would want to stay away from, though, if you want regular music lessons. Now we get to the other instruments which are more important. This is a penny whistle, and I call it sometimes an Irish flute. They come in different sizes and different keys. They play an awful lot of music, and I use them a lot. They're very enjoyable to play. You can see how good that is. This, and I'll put this to one side. This is a penny whistle, but it's a conical penny whistle in that it comes to a point, and I demonstrated it before. I have 2 with me. They're the same except changing color. They play an awful lot of music too, but they have a softer tone than the others. Now, why do I bring them all in? The challenge of the penny whistle and the sassuto. Let me play the sassuto again. I had it here last week. I actually enjoy playing the sassutos as much as I do the recorders. I really like them. They're very good, high-quality instruments. What makes them different than the regular recorders is the fact that they do not have a tone hole in the back. The conicals don't have a tone hole in the back. The penny whistles don't. The sassuto flutes don't. And what that does is that it causes the instrument to pitch 1 step below what the recorders will do. And I can demonstrate this very easily. I will take one of my recorders. This is the standard that I use. Perfect pitch, it's wonderful. And I will play, it's in the key of C, it's a C melody recorder. I'll play a G on it. That's what the G sounds like. Let me take my sassuto flute and use the same fingering. It's also in the key of C, and listen to this. It's 1 step down. And the reason it's 1 step down is just because that there's no tone hole in the back. And that would be the same for the penny whistle, which I like to call it Irish flute because they use them so much for Irish music. You can see 1 step off. Now, to play them in an orchestra, all you have to do, I mean, that's not anything that's wrong. It's the way the instrument is built, and there's nothing wrong with it. What you have to do to play it with an orchestra is you just raise it up by 1. You play 1 note higher, and then you match what the recorders are doing. The recorders, the C melodies, all of these are C melodies. You can get them in different keys. I brought some in last week, but for today's demonstration, I decided just to use the C melody. The C melody has a tone hole in the back. Every recorder has a tone hole in the back. And that makes it true pitch with the piano. So if somebody's playing a piano, I can take a copy of their piano music, look at it, play the melody line on the recorder, and it'll come out perfect pitch with the piano. This is what makes these instruments so good. If you're playing in a small orchestra, a small band, a church praise team, as I do, you will always have a piano or some kind of a keyboard playing. And with the recorders, the C melody recorders, you will exactly match a piano. And well, let me take, just to demonstrate, I'll take my little instrument, the melodica, and I'm going to play a C. That's a C, and I'll play the C. You see how they're perfect pitch? They pitch together. So that makes it easy. I can also play other keys on it. This is in the key of C. I can play the key of D, G, F without any trouble on this instrument. I can take other instruments that are not in the key of C and play perfectly well with the piano. What I have to do is transpose them up so that they match what the piano is playing, and I do that frequently. When I'm playing in an orchestra, let me put this down again. When I'm playing in an orchestra and I pick up an instrument that's in a different key, I just have to remember what key it's in and transpose it so it matches the piano. And that's not hard to do once you get used to it. The way I do it is I play a few notes, and because I'm harmonizing anyway a lot, and I see what pitch is best, and then I go with that. And I can do that without a problem. So for lessons, or if you want to follow along with me, it is best to use the C melody recorder to learn from. It doesn't mean you can't use other instruments. It doesn't mean that you can't use instruments in different keys. You're just going to have to pitch them up or pitch them down. And if you're in a rehearsal, I used to belong to a recorder orchestra. If you're in a rehearsal, you will have some people saying, do you want me to play this an octave up? Should I read an octave up? You can read music like a book. They're all symbols. All the notes are symbols. And somebody might say, can you read an octave up? Or do you want me to read an octave up? Or do you want me to read an octave down? What this means is, do you want me to play it an octave higher than it's written in the music, or do you want me to play it an octave lower than it's written in the music? And the C melody recorders can do that without a problem. Let me compare the quality of the sounds of these C melodies, because you're going to find that the quality of the sound differs, but the pitch should be about the same. Here's a C. This is the best little recorder I have. Let's try this one. Practically the same. Let me try this one. There might be a little bit of difference, sharp or flat, but most of them are going to be the same. And here's the other one, C. And they all will match the melodica, which I showed you earlier. So they're not that hard to play. The other thing that tone hole does, all the recorders have them, as I say. A lot of the other instruments do not. The thing that's good about the holes in the back, is the fact that you can do octaves with them. All you do is pull it down, simple. There's practically nothing to it. So they're not hard to learn, and they're a nice little instrument. I can do the same thing with this in the same pitch, but it does pitch a step down, so I have to raise the notes up by one pitch to match what the C melody recorders are doing. So this is a great experience to play these instruments, and you can learn everything that you want to learn on a recorder. You can learn all kinds of timing and notes and how to play notes and how to do sharps and flats. To do a sharp or a flat will make a note go 1/2 step down. A sharp will make a note go 1/2 step up. So if I'm going to play a G and I'm going to sharp it, so you can get that. If you want a sharp, it will be a little bit higher. And a sharp and a flat can sometimes be the same note. Maybe I should just demonstrate this on the board. Since we have a little time left, I'm just going to get up here for a second. And I'll do it with the red pen because that'll make it easier. Supposing, I'll just draw 5 lines here. Supposing this is a D, as it is, that's going to be the same as a C sharp, but it's also going to be the same as an E flat. If you play an E and you flatten it, you're still going to get a D. If you play a C and you sharp it, you're going to get a D. So one note might be a sharp or might be a flat, and it depends upon how the music is written. It's not actually a hard thing to learn. We will be doing more of that as we go along. I will be bringing in more instruments as we go along, and probably not so many at one time, but nonetheless they'll be here. I have several of the ocarinas. I have several of the melodicas and different instruments from different countries, which I'll bring in just to demonstrate them so you can see them. So I'm going to close it off for now, because if I don't, I'm going to get into something that I won't be able to finish, and I'd rather not do that. So I hope you enjoyed what we're doing. I hope you will feel that you can get an instrument. Maybe you already have one, and that's fine if you want to follow along with whatever you have, because much of what I say will apply to any instrument. If not, feel free to purchase these. They're not that expensive. You can learn a lot of music on it. So we'll see you next time.